I'm Shiva.
I'm Sketch.
And on this episode of AnimeCons TV, we're going to Katsucon! Woo!
This year we drove down for the 6th time to Katsucon, which is just outside of Washington, D.C. It's held at the Gaylord Convention Center in National Harbor, Maryland. Historically, we have enjoyed the convention but have found that it has organizational challenges, and when we first arrived at the convention center, that seemed to be happening once again.
Alright, so we've been waiting for how long now just to get out of the car?
3 hours? 4 hours?
No, literally 40 minutes.
Oh my god.
They have one guy with a cart. We're not allowed to not use the cart.
There used to be one car in front of us. Now there's apparently 2 cars in front of us.
There have been people in front of us waiting for a cart for at least 20 minutes.
Yeah. I don't know what organization is.
And then a bellhop just asked us if we wanted to take a taxi out of here.
Yeah, actually, yes.
This is what we're bringing out of the convention to go just on a joyride into the city. Poor Sketch, waiting hopelessly in line with nobody helping. These poor people in front of us have been waiting forever. All of these people, like, still 0 bellhops.
We did eventually get a cart, and I am happy to report that this was probably the lowest point of the weekend. And I do have to point out, this is the Gaylord Hotel. This is not the convention itself with their poor planning. However, Gaylord, get your act together. You've done this every single year for quite some time. There's like no excuse for this. Once we were in the building, we went to the part that we normally dread the most, pre-registration.
So every year we talk about how the line for Reg at Katsucon is really, really long. So this year we're actually going to do this scientifically. So ready?
Here
Put the phone up, start the time.
Go.
It's almost like they knew we were timing them, because for the first time in our 6 years of going to Katsucon, the line was actually organized and moved really, really quickly. They had people waving sticks at the table. They had a staff member directing people right at the front of the line. Now, this is kind of base level convention stuff. It's what most conventions do. It's not like they were reinventing the wheel here, but what a difference it made when they actually put normal con practices into place.
Well done, Katsucon. Good work.
Excitingly, registration wasn't the only sign that Katsucon is becoming a little more organized. They'd also taken control of their infamous gazebo area, which is normally fought over for photos. Instead of a free-for-all this year, they actually had a posted schedule of group gatherings outside of the gazebo, and the whole area roped off so that during that time, the series or group was able to kind of enjoy their photo time unencumbered, and photographers were allowed to gather and take pictures of them. It really also helped the congestion on that whole level, not to have people just kind of hanging around the gazebo waiting for an opening since there was a posted schedule. They did a similar thing down by the fountains, and it was very effective. One of the more publicized changes Katsucon made this year was that it required everyone that was entering the building to have either a badge for the con or a hotel room key for the Gaylord. That's a similar policy was done by Dragon Con several years ago to kind of alleviate crowding and people just gawking to look at the cosplayers. And Katsucon had a similar problem. It's not a large attended convention. It's probably solidly medium size, and yet a lot of people would ghost the convention just because it has such an awesome location for photos in the Gaylord area and not actually attend the convention itself. So it was interesting to see what the result would be, and I would say it made it much less crowded. The people who were there were actually attending the convention, and middle of the day on Saturday it was still a little congested, but overall there was so much more breathing room than we'd ever seen before. Much more room for photos for the people who actually paid to go to enjoy the area, and I would say that it made everyone a little happier not have to fight the crowds. They also had a lot more security presence, partially to enforce that, but partially also I think that's also the environment that we live in right now. And these were not convention volunteer security. These were actually hired security people. And given that it's in Washington, D.C., that was a smart move. And they were very friendly, but they were there and they had jackets on and you could tell who they were. And I think that it gave everyone a little bit of a sense of security without implementing something more outright like metal detectors, for example. We've also given Katsucon volunteer staff kind of some flack in the past, and this year I have to admit they were incredible. Everyone was incredibly friendly, incredibly informed. Staff went out of our way to give us information, even when we didn't ask. If we were walking by the information desk, they would just yell things out like, "Oh, hey, this is happening at this time," which was really, really helpful and nice to see. Even those that were guiding traffic, they were loud, but they were very polite, and it was refreshing. Overall, this just helped everyone lay back and enjoy the con, and some of its really positive aspects. They have an excellent dealer's room, which always has a lot of space, and they have areas in the back for photos that they set up every year. This year they had a Star Wars theme, and some places to relax and socialize. We even met some people in the back of the dealer's room just hanging out. They also had a really nice game room. It was large, plenty of room. One drawback was that you couldn't even take a purse in there, kind of going with the security theme, so that you had to check your bag or leave it with a guy monitoring the door, but otherwise they had a really awesome selection in there. Also, something I've never seen before is they had a roving cosplay repair station. So they actually had somebody with a flag that you could stop and flag down, and they had all of the repair materials on them instead of having it in a room somewhere. I thought that was a really neat idea. One of the things we've always enjoyed about Katsucon is it actually has a decent nightlife scene. There's a club upstairs in the Gaylord that for the weekend actually requires a Katsucon badge to get into, and they open the whole VIP section upstairs, and it's a lot of fun to wind down and hang out with people after hours. So overall, we had one of probably the best times we've had at Katsucon this year. Now, it's not perfect. It's still got some things it needs to do to improve, and there are still some very valid complaints about the convention itself and its programming. However, for the first time, we've seen some market improvement in it, and that's really exciting. So that's our take on it. We'd love to hear from you. If you went to Katsucon and you have some thoughts you'd like to share, please send us an email, leave us a voicemail. You have all of our contact information right up here on the screen. See you next time.